Geek Tank Radio, News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Welcome, everyone. We are the Geek Patrol, and our microphones don't have a stun setting. Today's episode of Geek Tank Radio is brought to you by Lightsaber Acupuncture Therapy. Recent discoveries have revealed that getting impaled by a lightsaber is no longer fatal and may even generate healing energies. Get a new lease on life with Lightsaber Acupuncture Therapy today. If I could even pronounce it.
Let's just say I'm glad it worked in Obi-Wan, because I would have missed the other guy otherwise.
I mean, is this a new technique? Qui-Gon was a little behind the curve.
I was going to say, the only person I've ever seen actually die from impaling with a lightsaber is Qui-Gon Jinn. I think he was just ready to go.
I mean, you can slice Darth Maul in half. It doesn't bother him. I mean, really, what is the point of a lightsaber anymore?
Here's the thing. As long as you don't hit any vital organs, it cauterizes everything, you don't bleed out. It makes sense.
It's a new business model. Anyway, welcome to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. Yeah, I think the future is there.
I have to say, I really love our sponsor this week.
Okay.
But what's the training that goes into that?
Yeah.
Because I got the lightsaber.
There's
a lot of people I'd like to acupuncture.
I saw the look in Brandon's eyes, and
I mean, we all know that my love of Star Wars comes from the ability to choke people from across the room.
Yeah.
So hey.
Anyway, we don't usually get that much mileage out of our sponsor.
I'm sorry.
But
The only horrible thing I thought of with the lightsaber thing, was, the whole Jedi chicken sandwich franchise and how the chickens just look weird.
Okay, cooking reference.
They're
2 minutes in.
It's porgs, man.
Anyway, I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Alan Gilbreth and our buddy Max behind the glass. And Brandon, we've got some business to take care of.
Okay.
First, however, later in the show, we're going to be talking to John Hallows, you and Brandon, you and Alan have been rubbing your hands together. This is your wheelhouse. Because this is an event that we're going to be appearing at.
Well,
go ahead and tell them what it is.
We're excited about this, and I'm just going to say, we've been working towards this very slowly for the past couple of months, ever since this thing got announced, and it was looking a little on the grim side.
Look, if there's going to be
here's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. The grim side is where me and Alan live.
Well,
that's true.
And let's face it, if there's going to be a geek event in Memphis, we're gonna bulldoze our way into there.
We're gonna find our way in.
Mm-hmm.
So coming up is in July 8th through 10th at the Malco. It's a 2-part location. It's at the Malco and at the Malco Summer Drive-In and the Hilton over in East Memphis that we're all very familiar with. And this is something. This is just, like I said, this is right in your wheelhouse.
It is, and I appreciate you continuing to push the button on the bulldozer.
Yeah.
After I had given up.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to say thank you, Joe.
Well,
I'm not going to thank you often, but I will thank you for this.
So,
you left the dozer dieseling, so he had to shove it a little harder.
So Geek Tank Radio is going to have Geek Tank Radio and the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention. We're going to have our promo booth over there at the Joe Bob Briggs. What is this called? I don't want to misquote it.
The Joe Bob Briggs Drive-In Jamboree?
Drive-In Jamboree, but like I said, it's sort of a convention by day, and by night it's a drive-in film festival with celebrity guests.
But
There's
that's
a lot
the thing.
going on.
It's not just film. It's also musicians. I mean, the Saturday night is going to have a major musical contingent.
Right.
There's PJ Souls is going to be there to sing her version of Rock and Roll High School.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's going to be celebrity guests, we don't want to spoil it because we want people to listen. And so John Hallows, who is Joe Bob's partner in crime on this, he's going to be jumping on the phone, and we're going to get all the information. We're going to find out and even get a little philosophical, I guess.
Well,
right?
I mean, we're going to do what we can about indie films and how, honestly, as Joe Bob has said, and one of his things that rednecks save Hollywood. I mean,
that's an interesting proposition, and I think they're going to all discussions about that.
It's going to be really cool.
So that's going to be at the Crosstown Theater,
and that's actually that's actually the Thursday before the Jamboree kicks off.
Okay, all right. Well, let's save this because that's going to be its own. That's going to be its own thing coming up here shortly.
It's going to be a whole weekend.
But guys, let's shift gears. We've got two points of business to take care of. We wrap. Okay, I'll say this. The Orville season 3 has not disappointed so far, but we have to talk about the finale of Kenobi because it just wrapped up, and a lot of we have a lot of thoughts about that. But I'll let you kick it off.
I mean,
Brandon.
I want to talk about Kenobi first, just because There's something amazing that happened the other day, and I was not expecting it. Of course, you know me. I'm a Star Wars guy. You give me a Star Wars just the littlest bit, I'm going to jump on it. Have I been disappointed by some stuff? Yes, but not to the point of being angry with it. It just doesn't happen.
You don't. I don't see you just. You're not one of those guys that just slams the door and said, "I'm done with Star Wars." By the way, Max, we are dealing with spoilers, so just so you know. But
I will cue you before I get into
Gee,
spoilers.
I wonder if Kenobi lives.
I will say that, Brandon, because I went through my bitter period with The Last Jedi, where I never turned my back on Star Wars, but I got pretty mad.
Yeah.
If you don't like something, you just kind of go, well, it wasn't my cup of tea.
It's true.
So I'll give you credit on that.
My thing is, I will always feel that your feelings about entertainment are valid, but if you go out of your way to tell me why I'm wrong for liking something,
or that you can't like it, or that
I'll invoke my my ancient heritage of the Irish mob.
Okay,
it's just gonna happen.
There you go.
But no, I really got something that I've been looking for, thanks to the Kenobi finale, and it's not anything that happened in the show.
Oh,
what? All right.
Our friend Andy Lockley has been very anti-Star Wars since Last Jedi. I mean, even to a full-on vehement.
Yeah.
Even like The Mandalorian?
Yeah, he's like, it's all right, but here's the thing. He loved the way Kenobi ended. He loved the idea.
I'm surprised
of
by that. That's interesting.
Because you know how he can be.
Right.
I mean, I love you, Andy, so if you're listening,
he knows.
Dude,
he owns it.
I'm very proud of, the way this turned out, and I'm glad that we're on the same page about something Star Wars related again, because we can geek out about it.
Okay.
But now we're going to get into the meat of the story.
Okay.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
See, and that's how you cue the spoilers.
Max just loves.
No, I don't like it being cued. I like surprising you all instead.
No, because then people
we have
can't
to
hear
cue
it.
this one because I know it's going to come as a shock to everybody, but like Vader lives again.
Yeah. Max needs creative
Are you sure?
Control. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, pretty sure because he shows up in the next movie that's coming out that showed up in 1977. I kind of know what happened.
But you know who died?
A few other people died.
Right.
A few other people kicked the bucket. So
yeah, nobody really dies in the.
I thought they're just mostly dead.
I was gonna say.
I mean, yeah.
Nobody really died in the.
I know it's kind of like
episode. It was a. If you do a kill count on this, it's not going to be. The last episode's going to be like,
right,
wow.
The Mandalorian took out entire ships of people. This one, no, everybody got beat up. We covered everybody in rocks, and we finally got a decent setup to a very successful movie that I saw when I was a teenager.
Did you?
Well,
I don't think you were a teenager. I still think you were in your 40s.
Brandon, they did have a challenge with Kenobi because we know they're going to live through this.
Right.
We know little Leia is not going to get killed. We know, so we know that. So they do still have challenges to give us something new.
There's
and
always
unexpected.
There's always a challenge. Like we had it with Solo, and everything. It's like we knew everybody in Rogue One was gonna die.
Right.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
It's there. Nobody was walking away from that.
Right.
But it's true. It's like, and we're going to have that same issue with the new Cassian Andor, series that's coming out. We know that he's going to live to Rogue One.
Right.
So it's like, how do we make this dramatic? And a lot of Kenobi's drama came from something that was also used in Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett, but didn't really fly with fans there. And that's the use of flashbacks.
Right.
Those flashbacks with him and Anakin.
Yeah.
Where him and Hayden, Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen doing the lightsaber dueling on the pedestal where you can see, like the, I guess that's the more serene
the Jedi
areas of
Temple.
Welcome to the training montage.
Yeah.
Yes.
See, now you have to obviously. I know people are going to complain about the de-aging and everything, but if you can get past that, who cares? It's like
All right, we made it to this point. We can forgive a little CGI.
And, well, let's go ahead and talk about how they kind of hid stuff like that with Kenobi. They filmed in a much lower quality film than what we have seen with The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
If you notice, it's like there's some grain to it.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say,
it's digital grain, but there's still some
it was kind of lining up to a movie.
Right. I didn't think the production. My only critiques of Kenobi were basically I didn't think that the production was as high of quality. Like you said, I noticed things. I'm like, okay, that looks a little, I don't know, grainy. It looks a little unfinished or something.
It looked a lot like that movie.
Yeah.
Like a little lower budget or something.
What's really weird about it is that's the look they went for. I mean, that wasn't an accident.
No.
That was on purpose.
So they want it more along the lines of if you wanted to watch the prequels and then you watch this or something. So.
Well, I think they made it more along the lines of they wanted to give you something that felt
like
you got enough obvious CGI and whatnot that you would have seen from the prequels, but it's almost like technology going between the prequels and A New Hope because of the fact of when they were filmed, they kind of went with this. We're going to downturn it.
Yeah,
that was the look that the DP went for, and I mean I'm here for it.
The one thing that they turned on a dime and they fixed something because at the beginning of Kenobi and throughout the whole thing, Anakin is, well, I'm calling him Anakin, but Darth Vader was obsessed with getting finding Obi-Wan Kenobi. Right. He had all this, and then with one conversation of the Emperor saying, maybe you're a little too obsessed with this, or are your feelings clear? On a dime, he turns and is like, well, Kenobi is of no importance because it sort of explains how he never found him or why he didn't even bother trying to hunt him down on Tatooine. Because to me, it was sort of obvious that you would have to at least send scouts or somebody to Tatooine to check things out. So.
And when it comes down to it, Vader, as much as Vader had an obsession for him, Vader didn't want to find him. I mean, you think about it.
What do you mean by that?
Well, if we saw the last vestiges of Anakin, his humanity in that last fight, and we don't see that again until Luke, finally convinces him to turn, or is trying to convince him in Return of the Jedi to turn on the Emperor. So when he tells him, when they're doing the thing before he takes him into the Emperor, and he tells him it's too late for me, it's like that's when you see Vader kind of like Anakin starting to resurface.
Well yeah, because he's standing there with his son. It's his kid.
We get to see the last bit of Anakin get purged in a very obvious way when he alleviates the guilt that Obi-Wan has had for the past 10 years by letting him know that he's not his failure. He failed himself. Obi-Wan did not fail him.
That's the line I wanted to go for, Brandon, because he gets his helmet cracked open, and I guess we get to see that scar on his head came from Obi-Wan,
in the head.
which is a pretty cool deep cut, literally. But also, when he said you didn't, because Obi-Wan was seriously broken up. I mean, I thought Ewan McGregor did a great job emotionally of capturing.
Absolutely.
He said, I'm sorry for everything, and then Anakin, I couldn't tell if he was twisting the knife or if there was a little bit of humanity saying, this isn't your fault. Because he said, you didn't destroy Anakin, I did. Yeah. And so it's almost like a two-part meaning.
They made sure that it's left open for you to interpret because until, someone decides to do one of those, the ending of Obi-Wan Kenobi explained, I hate those YouTube videos. If you make them, I hope somebody, like copyright strikes.
Basically, they're saying they're smarter than you, and we'll have to translate.
Often, I don't want to get on a rant about that, but too often it's like if you didn't understand the ending to that, you didn't watch it.
Right.
But
what do you think, though? Because I feel like it's double meaning.
They give you the perfect way to interpret it as the last bit of Anakin alleviating Obi-Wan's guilt. It's like his last kindness to Obi-Wan. And you see that in the fact that the reflection on Anakin's face is the blue lightsaber and the voice is Hayden's.
Right.
Because
I liked how it went back and forth between the electric voice.
When everything's trying to glitch out on him.
Right.
When he gets angry and is ready to go dark, his lightsaber's up, reflecting on his face, and it's the James Earl Jones voice, or a combination of the two.
Yeah.
I just wanted, Brandon kind of made me think of something like another thing, a point that I really enjoyed about like the Kenobi show in general. Like they were talking about blipping between the James Earl Jones voice and the Hayden Christensen voice. Something I really enjoyed about the dialogue, the way they wrote Vader, is it wasn't the sophisticated James Earl Jones Darth Vader we've come to know. It sounded more like what Anakin would have actually been saying.
Like a younger, he's really 10 years younger.
Yeah, a more immature Darth Vader, so to say.
Yeah, it's more along the way that Anakin spoke in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Than it was, what you get from the regality of James Earl Jones in A New Hope.
Okay, and I don't want to, we got to save a little time for the Orville, but I got one more question for you, Brandon.
Okay.
So we heard people saying, how come when Vader walked up and we don't hear the march up music, and then finally in the last episode, after the conversation with the Emperor, we do get the Vader music? Is that because it was a period of that's when he actually became Vader, when he finally said, I'm putting Obi-Wan behind me?
It was a period of uncertainty.
Okay, but now he's truly become Vader 100%.
Right.
Okay, because I thought that was interesting. That was an interesting musical cue.
The biggest thing here was we had to explain and bridge from a segment of time in the movies and what we have created. So we'll call it canon for lack of, any actual usable word here, because the word canon is way too strict. But we had a bunch of movies. People liked them. People didn't like them. They weren't shot in the same style as the previous 3 movies, which are actually the next 3 movies. And the problem with any kind of prequel is you already know the ending.
Yeah.
So you got to do other things. Now, what I enjoyed most about this was the psychological trip of a poor guy getting beat down. Yeah. Obi-Wan did not have a fun series. He did not come skipping through this series, la, 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 I'm Obi-Wan Kenobi.
But he did grow. He was a beaten, defeated person, and at the end, he found some of his Jedi swagger back.
Which is definitely something that has, I'm not bashing the Disney Plus series anyway, but it's something that we don't see a lot of in the characters in both the Marvel series and the Star Wars series that have shown up. Is, if it's a previously known character, we don't really see a whole lot of growth with them.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back and beat up on Book of Boba Fett again. I still loved every minute of it because I'm a simp for Star Wars. I just am.
Well, that was a fun show.
But it's like people went in there expecting like Boba Fett to kick in like the Punisher, and all I can think is, what in any of Star Wars has ever like led you to believe that, other than lies and misdirection? Come on, you guys keep falling for lies and misdirection all across this world. You gotta wake up.
My payoff scene was him riding a critter.
Yeah,
there you go. Right. That was the big payoff. This was more what really would have happened to a central character that has to coexist from these pretty terrible events. Because we had the whole big rise and life is good, and now it's over. Now you're being hunted like a dog. And now you have that transition where everything is going to hang in the balance, provided people can shut up and keep a secret.
Well, I do want to say one thing, because Reva, she had a bit of an arc, but what I found interesting about her was the fact that she was a Padawan who basically turned to the dark side, turned back. We don't really know what her journey is going to be. I hope we get something better than. I always thought Finn was they wasted the dynamic that he could have brought to the table of being basically a reformed stormtrooper and the psychological damage he went through. So I hope they explore Reva's character a little bit more going forward. So.
I don't know if we'll get a full-on Kenobi season 2.
No, but there's no reason.
But she can fall in at other
things. That's absolutely untrue, Alan. Because
there's no reason. Now, there's reason for
so here's the thing.
Bunch of those characters to get another show.
But here's the amazing part about Kenobi himself. What we saw at the very end, the outfit he's in, where he's headed, there
could be more adventures.
When he first shows up in the Marvel comics, when they got the rights back, that's exactly what he's doing. So we've got a ton of adventures that they allude to and other things that we've never seen.
I think they're going to do a lot, honestly.
That
I think they are going to do
sub-adventures doing other things.
He more or less told Uncle Owen, okay, you've got this or whatever. So he's going to go do a few things and check in.
I'm sorry, Joe. I think we're going to have to wait until next week to catch up on the Orville because it has been amazing. I don't think 3 minutes can do it justice.
No, well, the other thing about the Orville, so let's just at least tee this up. Okay, so we're all recommending Kenobi. It's not perfect. I will say it's got a few little slow moments, but it's well worth seeing, and I like it.
Which basically means it's Star Wars.
Yeah. It's fun. It's a good solid, and it's got some interesting moments. So switching to the Orville, we're in the middle of, well, not even the middle. We're sort of at the early stages of season 3.
Yeah, we've got our first 4 episodes.
We're gonna give it some attention and some love because
has it matured.
It's You know what, though? They didn't throw everything. They didn't say, okay, well, now that we're on Hulu, we're going to make this R-rated and we're going to do whatever. The show matured. It is nice. Man. You talk about polished, and it looks good. And they still kept the flavor of the show.
It reminds me more of season 1 than season 2. It's like in season 2, it's like Fox had given them notes, lean more into the comedy.
Right. Yeah.
The absurd comedy. And they have brought it back to the way that we saw it growing in the first season. And it's still got some humor in it, but not so much that it overshadows
the fact that slapsticking.
These guys are in the middle of a war.
Yeah.
And it's very telling. And yet, when I turn on an episode, I can't stop watching it.
Well, it's like, for what it's worth,
and you're invested. Whichever character it is you're following.
Yeah. And my wife, who's not even a big sci-fi fan, this is like becoming one of her favorite shows. So it's definitely got wide appeal. We'll unpack it as the weeks unfold. You're listening to Geek Tank Radio here on News Talk 98.9 The Roar of Memphis. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to talk to John Hallows all about Joe Bob Briggs' Jamboree coming July 8th through 10th.
Geek Tank Radio.
I like being bad. It makes me happy.
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
You know, I have noticed a certain spring in Brandon's step when he gets to be evil. So,
well, you know,
it's just the way.
It's so much more fun to be a heel.
Absolutely. And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Alan Gilbreth and our buddy Max behind the glass. And in a minute, we're going to introduce a special guest. If you're just tuning in, we were discussing Kenobi, and we barely even scratched the surface on the Orville because, let's face it, Kenobi was, it was wrapping up the series.
Right.
We had to unpack it a bit. But we encourage you, if you missed any of it, go to go to the Geek Tank Radio Facebook page. Alan will have the past shows linked. We can listen on Spotify,
He is so much
YouTube.
fun with COVID brain.
Yeah, I'm still a little foggy. I'm not contagious. I'm fine, but yeah, I'm still not feeling it. But enough of that. You guys, we need to introduce our special guest, John Hallows, who I understand, I've already butchered his name. But John, are you there? John, okay.
He's not going to answer you till you call him Greg.
Okay, John Hallows, who's part of Joe Bob Briggs' Jamboree, which is coming up July 8th through 10th at the Hilton and at the Malco Summer Drive-In. Do we have him now, Max? John, are you there? Okay.
I told you he's not going to answer you till you call him Greg.
Okay, John, are you there? This is really going
Yeah,
well.
I'm
So,
here.
all right, there you are. We thought, well, hey, some of these drive-in movies, you don't know what happens. Something grabs the car door.
He very well may be using one of our old school summer drive-in speakers. They only worked for the first half of the movie.
Yeah. So, John, okay, you tell us you want to go by Greg, right? So,
Yeah, because John's like usually what somebody calls me when they want money. So
I
that's
understand.
my actual middle name.
Okay, yeah, I have the same problem. If anybody calls my phone and says, "Hey, Joseph, are you there?" I know they're either a bill collector or they're trying to buy my house or something. So, well,
Exactly.
Greg, anyway, man, it's good to have you on the show.
Yeah,
So-
Greg, I'm a good Southern boy. Brandon's my middle name too. So,
Yeah, see? There we go.
yeah.
So, well, go ahead, Brandon, because this is really something. 2 minutes after you guys announced this, Brandon was texting me like, "How do we get in on this?"
I really did. It's like found out you guys were coming to Memphis, and I was like, I yelled at Joe. I was like, "That's Joe Bob Briggs and Darcy the Mail Girl. I've been trying to convince you to bring them as guests for our convention for the past 3 or 4 years. Anyway,
right.
Let's go meet them."
Well, it's funny. We were actually looking into that possibility after COVID was over, and then sure enough, you guys beat us to the punch.
Headed here. It's like it was kismet, man. The singularity is real.
So Greg, okay, I got to cross out my notes here. Greg, so what is this? Tell us about what's coming to Memphis. It's coming up in a couple weeks, man. So
Yeah, it's Joe Bob's Drive-In Jamboree. For his whole career, Joe Bob's championed drive-in movies and everything to do with them. He's a walking encyclopedia of movie knowledge, and he wanted to do an event. He did it last year in Pennsylvania, but he wanted to move it around, so he found the drive-in in Memphis is, one of the oldest in the country, and he wanted to do an event there. And the difference from this year and last year was he wanted to add a convention component to it, because what he found out was during the day at the drive-in, it's either really hot or, there's other elements to deal with. So he wanted to do something inside to kind of give the fans something to do all day long. So I've known him for a while. He's done conventions with me. I've put on conventions for almost a decade now. And he called me up and said, hey, are you interested in doing this? And I said, of course I am. It's not far from where I live. I love everything that he does. I'm a fan too. And I said, what do you want to do? Because at the time he called me, we were kind of, behind my normal time frame of doing conventions. I like to start like 7 or 8 months before promoting and doing all that stuff. But we only had a few months, so I started brainstorming and thinking of what guests would make sense and who would go along with the drive-in theme and who could we actually get there and finding the venue and all that stuff. So it came together very quickly, and I'm really excited about what we were able to accomplish in a short amount of time.
You triggered me, because we plan a convention here in Memphis as well, Greg, and when you talk about those short deadlines, my flesh crawls.
Yeah.
I like having a year to plan.
Oh yeah.
I mean, not to spend too much time talking about Memphis Comic and Fantasy, but we a couple of years back, I think it was 2019 or 2018, we were at the guest house at Graceland, and because of a booking issue, we lost our guest, 6 weeks before the convention?
Yeah, at the last minute, we had to change celebrity guests. We had to pivot on the fly as well, Greg. So we feel your pain, sir.
We know the anxiety that comes with a last minute, oh, wait, what?
So you're throwing together really a completely new event as well, because you it sounds like you had the drive-in movie aspect figured out, but now you're basically throwing in a daytime convention, which that's its own challenge, because you got to get people from one location to the next, right? So.
Yeah, and the way they did it was it was good, because he's got a built-in fan base. So the drive-in part was easier to market because people knew what it was. It's basically he's recreating his show at a drive-in.
Right.
But the fan convention side of it was a little more challenging, because we couldn't do a full-fledged convention because there's really not the time for it. But also, we didn't want to take away anything from the drive-in itself. So, normally at a convention, you have after-hour stuff and, a bunch of activities. But the activities for this are the drive-in. So,
right.
I tried to make it because there's going to be some people that don't want to go to the drive-in, only want to go to the convention, and vice versa. So we had to make it to where it was a value for both people. So anybody that bought a VIP or a weekend pass to the drive-in, I think they can access the convention. But then there's also people that can just buy a ticket to the convention and that's all they do. And that's fine too. So I wanted to make sure that they were going to get the value for their money. So I think we ended up with 19 guests.
Wow.
That's a really good deal.
Yeah, and the rooms, there's vendors that are geared towards his show. And, I would have loved, of course, because I do conventions, I would have loved to have more stuff and a lot of other things. But I had to make sure my mindset was right, that this is just a part of the overall show. So Joe Bob's Drive-In Jamboree is the whole thing. It's the drive-in and it's the convention. So we're not marketing it really as two separate things, even though it could be. But we know that the people coming are going to most likely want to do both.
Well, it's a good setup too. Because they're close to each other as well. They're only a 10-minute drive, 5-minute drive. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's two exits, I think. So it's really close.
Yeah.
I want to go ahead and say I love the idea of you guys bringing it to Memphis, because, if nothing else, because of how centralized we are. I heard about people having to, basically, sell things for gas money to come from California all the way out to the Moaning Theater in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
so they're
if you're a
hardcore.
drive-in fan, you want to go to the Moaning Driving anyway, because of the fact that it is just a full-on like underdog to amazing story. You know, the way they have everything set up, it's kind of like a bucket list thing if you're a Mutant fan anyway. So,
Well,
for sure.
I'll tell you this: in July, I'm glad you've got some indoor events going on because I mean,
that's true. It gets a
That's
it gets a little ugly
that's
here in
what we
Memphis.
told everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm from the South. I'm used to it, but some of the people were questioning, like, "Hey, how hot does it get in Memphis?" I'm like, "Where are you from?"
You just got to send them that
like,
little.
You don't understand it.
Yeah, you just got to send them that little meme of Joe Bob from Hogzilla where it says it's going to get nasty.
yeah,
It is.
Yeah, definitely. There's no way around it. So, yeah, that was part of it. Your reasoning is exactly why he told me he picked Memphis is because it was central. It gave more people a chance that wanted to come. They weren't so far away right off the bat.
right, absolutely. Go ahead, Alan. Alan wanted to chime in.
Well, I was just going to ask Greg, have you actually seen the Malco yet? You personally?
Yeah, I've been there. Yeah.
Oh, okay, awesome.
I only live about 2.5 hours from Memphis. So
Well,
I go to Memphis to record shop and do a lot of stuff. I actually we promote in Memphis because all my shows that I put on are in the South. So I promote in Memphis a lot, and I just like going there because there's lots of good record stores. There's good food. It's not far from me, so I mean it's not a bad trip. So I haven't actually watched a movie there, but I have been there.
Okay, well, I mean, I think Mr. Briggs and crew are going to be utterly amazed at the fact that we have a truly vintage venue for them here. It is the old school, truly classic, dyed in the wool, everything he has ever talked about for a drive-in, it's here.
Including the broken bathrooms.
Hey, this is probably a basic question, Greg, but honestly, I don't know but you said he's a big champion of drive-in movies, but it seems like he's also kind of a champion of like bad B movies and things like that. Are they connected, or is he just like I'm trying to get my head around what motivates Joe Bob Briggs. So
yeah, Joe isn't a big guy when it comes to the bad B movies.
Well, we had the son of Svengoolie when I grew up in Chicago, Greg. So that was my equivalent, I guess you could say. But so what's his why is he so passionate about this?
I mean, at the essence, he's a very smart guy that sees the value in the movies themselves, and I think he's always been kind of the champion of the independent spirit. Like, that's the whole point of. I mean, we're putting on the fan convention, we're doing the Halloween 3 reunion and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, what he's most excited about is Sunday's drive-in movies that are the ones that the fans submitted, and he had to go through this long, lengthy process to pick who's the winners, and he gives out the hubbies, and
that's awesome.
He just loves film in general. Like, he can go on a diatribe about the importance of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 and what it means to whatever, but he also loves film in general. I think the reason why he goes for, B movies and drive-in movies specifically is because when he first started, there was no one doing that.
Right.
He was the one that was the voice of the small guy, I guess. Because, I mean, it's hard for some people of a certain age to remember the life before the internet, but,
yeah.
I have all of his books. I've got, the books he wrote on, it's basically an encyclopedia of what movies you should check out.
Right.
And that's kind of the whole, his whole shtick is, Joe Bob says, check it out. Like, when you hear that, it's like, I'm going to at least give this movie a chance.
Yeah.
I might hate it, but the fact that he wants me to at least try to see it, that's some value. It's like, the old VHS boxes that had, the sticker like so-and-so approved. Like, that's the way I look at it. Like, if he says I should try to watch it, I'm going to watch it. And that's why I like his show so much. The show on Shudder carries over the traditions of Monster Vision and everything he's done up until now. Like he's still the same guy talking about the same movies 30 years later.
Right.
But he's got a whole new fan base of people that didn't get to watch Monster Vision or see him on TNT or anything he's done before. And I would recommend highly anyone checks out his Redneck Save Hollywood show.
Which it's
Thursday
one of the
night,
best
right? 2 hours I've ever watched. Yeah, he decided to plan one the Thursday before the event because he would be around anyway. And it's one of the most informative, fun 2 hours I've ever seen.
It's a pretty attention grabbing title, Alan. I mean, and I guess he stands behind that claim.
And he's going to be at one of our new, more amazing venues. He's going to be at the Crosstown Theater with that, which just hosted Craig Brewer's
secret screening. And we have another one coming up, by the way.
Yeah.
So, and it's a beautiful venue. The Crosstown is just a cool place to go anyway. So that's kicking things off Thursday. We better get into some of the nuts and bolts too.
Well, before we get into the nuts and bolts and everything, I just want to say that it's like the idea of you guys bringing here. We can shower all the love onto Joe Bob Briggs that we want, but someone else who deserves a lot of credit, especially with the latest resurgence on this, is Diana Prince, Darcy the Mail Girl.
Oh yeah.
I have to, if I don't give her a shout out, I will feel that we have done her a disservice because when you look at what all she has done since the kickoff with his last drive-in special when it first started, from that moment on, she has been so in tune with the fans.
Yeah.
And everything she's done. Right? Yeah, she just seems like an amazing person to work with.
Yeah, so basically, Greg, it sounds like in the daytime, you're going to be at the Hilton in East Memphis, which we're very familiar with that venue. It's really beautiful. They've just renovated, and so it's going to be nice, comfortable, air-conditioned atmosphere.
Right,
and I'm guessing celebrity meetups. You get to. I know there's vendors that we're friends with that are going to be there. Big shout out to Eric's Secret Stash and El Santo Lobo. But so paint a picture for us so we can. Make sure people get an idea what they're going to expect.
So at the Hilton Memphis, you'll have the typical, convention set up. We'll have a room of vendors and the guests doing, photos and autographs and, basically hanging out there. We kind of put the group together. Going to be in a room together because I know whenever Joe Bob does anything, the line's ridiculous. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible on everyone. But you also get to meet Yuki and John Brennan and the other people that put the show on. And, of course, Darcy will be there, too. Because, without her, there wouldn't be a Shutter show as far as I know.
Yeah.
She pretty much convinced him to come back.
Right. He was enjoying the con circuit with the semi-retirement. And she basically hounded him until he agreed.
Oh, that's awesome.
The thing is, and what I've heard from the beginning is he didn't realize people wanted him to keep doing it.
Oh,
and she had to convince him that people love him and want him to do this again if he would. It's
absolutely true.
She just stayed on him, and he finally did it. Yeah.
Those of us who grew up, I know there's still people around who grew up watching his local show when he had first started doing all this with the drive-in. But those of us who grew up watching Monster Vision late nights on TNT when our parents thought we had gone to bed, it's
exactly.
just and the fact that the last drive-in has done so much. I mean, he got me to watch Habit last night. That's in and of itself, Of course, now I have a lot of respect for Habit.
Well, and then that's the daytime, and then at night, so it'll be at the drive-in. I didn't realize that fans got to vote on what movies are going to get screened. That's kind of cool. So, in addition to the screening, what's the vibe like over there at night at the drive-in?
At the big one this year is finally him showing Halloween 3. Like Darcy's been hounding him for as long as they've known each other to show it, and it's the perfect year to do it because it's the anniversary. And we're going to have Tommy Lee Wallace there and Tom Atkins and Stacey Nielkin to kind of defend the movie against Joe Bob, who hates it.
Now that's an interesting dynamic. So
yeah.
he's honest. If he doesn't like a movie, he'll
Absolutely. He does not hold punches.
Sure.
Oh,
No.
now
Not
that's
punches at all.
interesting.
He has never said a kind word about Season of the Witch.
Yeah.
Okay, now
Yeah.
I like that. He's not just a
never-
shill.
yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
that'll be interesting.
He did reveal the Saturday movies. On Saturday, they're going to show Rock and Roll High School and Bubba Hotep.
Yes.
Oh boy.
And
Which is a big
John Brennan,
big hit
who
here.
and it's a perfect drive-in movie. I mean, it's not horror, which I think a lot of people expected all the movies to be horror, but drive-in movies weren't always horror. They were sci-fi and
Sure.
just typical drive-in stuff. But PJ Souls, who's going to be one of the guests at the convention, she will be over there kind of helping with the festivities. And John Brennan, who is the guy who does the theme song for the Shudder show, he's going to be doing a whole medley of Ramones songs.
Oh gosh,
Yeah.
the Ramones, awesome. So
I was actually,
Yeah,
I mean,
and
I was excited when I saw that Sybil Danning is going to be there because it's like, I didn't realize. I mean, this is
she
bad
was
on
a
me.
big '70s.
I didn't
person,
realize
right?
she was still around.
Okay, that's nice.
But then
one of the first people I thought of was her, because my reasoning for wanting her to be there is because Darcy took over her show, basically championing nudity in movies.
Right.
Sybil used to do a show a while ago. I don't remember the name of it. I feel bad about that, but Darcy took over like the second version of it, like the updated version. So I thought that would be cool, and that's one of the reasons why I was super adamant about Honey being there, because I thought for all the longtime fans, having the original male girl and the new male girl together would just be crazy. Like it's Circle of Life kind of thing.
Absolutely, that's awesome.
Well, Greg,
I was super happy.
It's going to be a full weekend, so before we run out of time, tell people how do they get tickets? How do they find out more? Is there a website we want to check out?
Yeah, JoeBobsJamboree.com is the website that has basically everything about the show. They're going to release the schedule of events sometime this week, but that's where you can buy tickets. That's where you can get more information about what guests will be there. That's where pretty much everything lives. The tickets are through Tixer, but the link's on his website, the JoeBobsJamboree.com. That's we're trying to make it as easy as possible. It's all on one site.
Well, Greg, you've been talking on your phone while driving. Is that kosher, you guys? Did we just break the law?
He's a hands-free guy.
I got AirPods in.
Okay, good. So we didn't. Okay, well, because we don't want you to wind up the subject matter of one of these bad B
No,
movies.
we
So,
don't need you
but
on
Greg, we're going to let you go, but we're looking forward to meeting you in a couple weeks, and we'll be plugging this next week as well. And we're really excited about being set up there. So it's going to be a fun weekend. So thanks for calling in, man.
It's going to be real fun.
Give
man,
Joe Bob and
great.
Darcy,
Yeah.
Give Joe Bob and Darcy our
Joe
best.
Bob always says, check it out. I will tell them that you guys are super supportive, because they're very happy with how Memphis has embraced what they're trying to do.
Oh yeah, we're rolling out the welcome wagon here. So, Greg, we got to let you run, man. The clock waits for nobody, but we will see you in a couple weeks.
Sounds good, man. Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot. Well, Brandon, this is I'm kind of excited about this. It took a little persuasion for me,
right.
But now that I'm hearing sort of and I do like somebody that champions the little guy. You could say
absolutely, and I mean, nothing promotes arts better than pushing for independent film.
Yeah. So
you,
I mean,
you mean like that independent studio, like Dark Oak Media?
There you go.
Yeah.
No,
okay.
no.
Nudge, nudge,
From what I understand, the guy in charge of that has a lot going on for him, but it's a little dangerous.
All right.
That's true.
Well, speaking of dangerous, you've been listening to another hour of Geek Tank Radio here on News Talk 98.9 The Roar Memphis, but it's time for us to go away. So until next week, we are the Geek Patrol, and I am Joe Thorderson.
I'm Alan Gilbreth.
I'm Maximilian.
And I am Brandon Olmstead, and I can't wait to get back on the road, guys.